Hello and welcome, I'm Lee, the music reviewer. Apologies for the noise outside just now. I'm not sure how much of an effect that's going to have on this review in general. I'll try and edit it out. But anyway, let's just jump right into what we're going to be talking about today, which is the Cloud Nothings album, Last Building Burning. I actually got some in advance access to this for a press release, though if you've watched any of my reviews on albums like Love Is Dead, Hold On To Your Heart, The Now Now, having any sort of advanced access, whether it's from leaks or press release, never really factors into my enjoyment. But I just thought I'd mention that just now so there's some transparency and you don't have to worry about whether or not I'm trying to hide something. But anyway, Cloud Nothings, if you don't know who they are, what have you been doing? Why are you such a lazy wee boy? Grow up. Grow up. Cloud Nothings have been behind some of the 2010's most enjoyable music as far as I'm concerned. They have tinkered with genres like post-hardcore, pop rock, lo-fi, emo. It's really kind of weird how all-encompassing they have been, considering they are like an indie rock outfit that usually just tends to play with just kind of like the safe boundaries. So the fact that they've kind of like brought in influences from all these different areas, it's quite impressive, and it's all came down to varying levels of success for me. Though the peak has to be their 2014 record, Here and Nowhere Else, which was my introduction to the band, so it might be a bit of bias that way because I know a lot of people say Attack on Memory, but Here and Nowhere Else has the very first song I heard from, I'm Not Part of Me, which just so anthemic, just gets me pumped up every time. I still think it's one of the best tunes so far. I won't deny the importance of Attack on Memory though, because it's definitely not got the hooks that Here Nowhere Else has got, which maybe plays into why I enjoy that record more. But it's more caustic, it's more menacing. There's just so much more attitude going for it, which I think is part of the reason why so many folk prefer that album to the general discography of the band. Steve Albini also did production on this, who's, again, you probably know him already if you watch this channel, but has been behind some very, very important albums. So apparently he was very hands off with this album, so I think most of the credit here actually goes to Cloud Nothings for just managing to really capture that angsty, standoffish attitude that they did. And while I may be in the minority when I say, hey, Lightfoot Sound isn't actually all that bad, I will admit it definitely lacked a sense of originality. It was a lot tamer, which did result in it being a fair bit weaker than their other material. Though, again, I won't deny the fact that Darkened Rings did tickle my fancy. But when it came to this new album, I think a lot of fans were just hoping that they would go back to a wilder, frantic approach. And it's pretty irrefutable that Last Building Burning does seem to go with that, at least from the start. When it comes to this track, On an Edge, it just opens things up and is true to its name. It's got like the energy of like 100 toddlers that have just had their party bags and just like ate all the sweeties and that are inside of it. Just everything from the prominent drum fills to the guitars that just don't quit. They just have this energy, this power that is just, it can almost be kind of like hard to process because of just how hard and just in your face that they are. And then there's Dylan Baldy, who's just shouting and bawling until his lungs give out. There just seems to be this unfiltered passion and energy that's really like pushing this song along, and it means that from the get-go, you know the Cloud Nothings aren't here to like kind of like float about in the background for you. They're here to demand your entire attention, and from this intro alone, you can't deny that they're definitely doing something that's very unlike what they were doing with Life Without Sound. The songs that follow this for a wee while are definitely more in tune with the material that you would have saw on Here and Nowhere Else. Leave Him Now probably would have been a song that if it was covered by any contemporary like indie rock, pop punk, emo bands, could probably been butchered in a Shawn Mendes way, because it's really like it's a song about trying to make somebody's romantic situation kind of like obvious to them that is not actually that good, that you have to like get out of that, and it's not ever like used in a way with like an ulterior motive, like leave this person, come be with me, I'm so much better than that. There's no sort of like I'm a nice guy approach to it. It feels more like a motivating anthemic song where it's just like you need to leave him, and now you're so much better, get out there, which I think is kind of refreshing because it's very easy for like, again, the pop punk band and emo bands that I grew up with and even that are around just now seem to kind of like always have that woe is me attitude, and again like an ulterior motive, but it's not here, and it's just a really enjoyable song. Offer an End is a lot less upbeat, and it sees Baldy kind of like showcase his apathy towards himself and others, and it's just him pleading for like a conclusion to his misery. He wants an end offered to him, much like the song implies it would be about. And I like how it explores this creatively near the end of it. There's this kind of like really like sprawling, distorted guitar line that kind of teases for the last minute before we do get some sort of closure, which I thought was kind of inventive, and I did find it again an enjoyable song. The Echo of the World is probably the finest rendition of this particular palette, as the calculated aggression pushes the song inch by inch. There's just this pot of energy that just starts to slowly boil as the band turn it up a notch until the instrumentations, they just overflow with this franticness, and there's these screams that Baldy chucks out with "You'll Never Take Me Back," and it feels utterly in vain because all the performances and instrumentation is just like drowning out. It's obviously like a intended thing to do, and oh, it's such a memorable moment. Last Building Burning's like centerpiece though is definitely a song Dissolution. It's a really thick boy that goes on for just under 11 minutes, and Well Clubbed Nothings have definitely tinkered with songs that go on a fair bit longer than your usual indie rock band would tinker with, like maybe like 8 or 9 minutes of that. This one's definitely different for them. The first few minutes are definitely kind of more akin to what we'd got with the previous track so far, but around about the 4 minute mark, it goes a lot more kind of like free form. It's more the drummings that are kind of like, the drumming is like washing in and out. It's kind of like the centerpiece of this track, and much like the track, it's kind of like the centerpiece of the album because it's got the most kind of time dedicated to it, and it definitely feels like the most experimental to them. I feel like for a minute or two in this middle section, it does my attention started to waver. Thankfully, these vibrant guitars start to emerge, and the washed out playing gives the song a sense of rhythm that it was lacking. The conclusion for it is just, it's very satisfying. So I feel like the 1 or 2 minutes where I was sort of wavering in terms of my attention wasn't really doesn't really redcon the overall satisfaction of this track. The penultimate song, So Right So Clean, is just dripping with angst and moodiness, but I don't think that it really ever like makes good of the promise and any of the build up that the bulk of the song carries. So by the end of it, I think Baldy really does save it with this desperate plea, saying that he wishes to kind of like be the Eve in your dream. It's just, it feels so authentic. It's so genuine, and it does feel pretty heartbreaking. So while the instrumentation on this track isn't bad, like I say, it did definitely have an attitude to it, but just the track didn't really make good of it until the very end. So not really a bad song, but like considering its ending, that ending deserves to be part of a better song, in my opinion. Another Way of Life is an anthemic closer, and it's quite akin to what we've seen before, even on this album. So again, it's not a bad song, but it's just maybe we could have done with something a bit more of a bite to it. Though I'm not going to complain. It's very catchy, it's very melodic, and I think in terms of an ending, it's fine, it's satisfying. I don't feel underwhelmed by it. I think it could have been a bit of a better ending. But in terms of just this album in general, guys, I don't think it's anything to kind of scoff at. I'm very happy with what we got here. At its worst, I feel like it's an album, or like let's say like the worst tracks on this album, I feel are kind of flawed a little bit, but there is definitely a lot of enjoyment to be had from it. And at these songs at their best are just some of the best music the band have put out in over half a decade, and I would say could easily like stand toe to toe with the other great music the band have put out in the 2010s, which I think's quite an achievement. I think it's quite an achievement, and shows that they're definitely back, and have been able to show that they're capable of just being brought up and being loved by people. They've just kind of like, they definitely warrant people like showing interest, whether they're new people or old fans. In terms of a score, I'm feeling a light 8, but again, that's subject to change, like any sort of rating that I give out. But I thoroughly enjoy my time with this record. There's not really like a glaringly bad song on here, just some issues I've had with it, especially with the fact that it's not a completely fresh album, but it's definitely just them doing what they do good, which I can't really slate at all, especially with how there's definitely some attempts at experimentation, which I can admire. Maybe I don't love, but I can definitely admire. But if you guys have listened to this album, let me know what you think. Your favourite song, your least favourite song, a rating, just down in the comments below. We'll get talking down there, guys. But as always, thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay hydrated.